My name is Eric Newton. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at Milestone. And I think this is one of my favorite webinars of the year, and it's the one that gets tons of participation and subscription from the community. And what we're going to be talking about today are the digital marketing trends and must-haves and solutions for 2023. We have three speakers on our panel today. The stalwart Benu Agrawal is going to be our anchor. Michael Brew is our global head of enterprise at Milestone. He's new to the company in the last few months, and it's a pleasure to have him on the panel. And a longtime friend of the company and SEO expert Bill Hunt is here with us today. He's the president of Back Azimuth Consulting. All right, next, thank you. So our agenda, just breaking it up into kind of four big sections, but we'll make it easy for you guys to digest. We're going to talk about the biggest search updates of 2022. Then we're going to give you some framing and consumer trends and insights. And then we're going to talk about digital marketing trends specifically and some of the must-haves that you need in your solution to capitalize on these opportunities that we're going to highlight for you today. And then key elements of your success plan. And at the end, we will give you guys a chance we'll give you guys an offer for an audit, and we will take questions for 10 or 15 minutes. So now I'm going to hand over to Bill Hunt. Bill, you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm fighting the flu, so I was trying to not cough into everyone's ears today. So we're here actually to talk about some of these biggest search trends. There's been a lot of noise, especially the past couple of weeks, about changes Google's making. We really want to dig into not just search trends, but some digital marketing trends as well. Next. And this is a slide that Benu has created that I think really articulates a lot of the changes. It's got all the different names, and what we can see over the past couple of years, there's been an acceleration of these different algorithms and elements that Google's putting out, all trying to really make search better. That's what they're trying to do. And we can break these down into two buckets. You know, there's the experience side of this where we're trying to get rid of the bad stuff. You know, Google's essentially becoming the content police, trying to keep the bad stuff out and get the good stuff in. And the other side is along that is about relevance and multi-search, trying to present people with the right context. So whether it's an image or it's a PDF or whatever it may be, all of these things are really trying to drive changes in their marketplace. Next. And we can break these down and Benu is going to talk about this, where there's basically three key areas from a Google perspective that all these algorithms, changes, and updates are driving to. Making mobile, as we all know, more people are searching on their mobile devices, making it much more, it requires Google to focus more on presenting the right content, make sure it's fast, make sure it's renderable, and at the same time trying to get rid of spam and safe browsing. You know, they don't want to present somebody something that hijacks their computer and does those type of things. So there's been a lot of that going on. Helpful content is the big one. It's been in the news lately, really trying to figure out what is the best content for people. And that's going to be the bulk of what we're going to talk about, is how do you really create this type of content that is truly helpful to users, despite what you as a business may want. What is it that people actually need? And then ties into the second piece, the experience. It's 2022, almost 2023, and in too many restaurants, you go to their website and you have to download a PDF to see their menu. Many of these type of things, need to go away. And so it's really focusing on user and the speed. Can the user, when they come, especially on a mobile device, interact with the actual website? Next. And there's a whole bunch of consumer trends. So while Google is changing, they're actually making a lot of these changes to align with what consumers want. Privacy and peace of mind. Every day we're hearing about somebody or someone, some organization getting hacked, getting their ID stolen. Also, many people are focused on interacting with advertisers or with businesses that, really are focused on sustainability and making the world a better place. this is all leading to personalization at the next level, not just inserting someone's name or using IP detection to show them something that's based on their area, but truly trying to figure out what they're doing, what they want, and how do we present that information to them. The whole direct to consumer visual and 3D experiences. People are wanting to have a more immersive experience with things. And then lastly is really digging into this data. And then feeding it back out into our ecosystem to make it better. And if you look at a lot of these things, Google specifically is telling us, and we'll talk in a moment about the Google Analytics, how it's forcing people to think about multi-point attribution and in these regards. So it's leveraging data to be able to get even more yield out of our marketing activities. Next. Some of the trends we're seeing is that these are the type of queries and rising expectations in the expectations people have. We're seeing this, open now near me. While that's a really simple statement, it's fairly complex. And that gets back to the question about, can JavaScript be rendered to present schema data or those type of things? How does Google know, that it's where a business is at, where is the user at? And many of these others, people are looking for calculators to do things. And then we see the growth in TikTok and Instagram as opposed to Facebook and others. So people are changing, and we need to really try to adapt our marketing activities to better align with what the users want. Next. And so some of the digital marketing trends and must-have, we're going to break them down into 5 specific ones and then 3 tactics. So multi-search is leveraging everything, getting all of your assets found, helpful content, making sure it's relative, authoritative, and most importantly, accessible. It's interesting how many people, churn out tremendous amounts of content and never even check to see if it's been indexed. Omnichannel, are they interacting with videos, not just across device types? Localization and personalization, we mentioned that. How are we connecting with people? If you're in Boston versus Arizona, 2 different types of things that you need to think about. Influencer marketing, but really this is more on the community side, not getting a Kardashian in to pimp your product, but really trying to figure out how we build community and get those community members to accelerate our products. And then this is done really by leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning. There's a lot of data, and we need ways to mine it. And so if we're able to train the models correctly, we can start to see actionable insights. That ties into business intelligence. It allows us to find the needle in a haystack. And all this culminates with what's our success plan? What are we trying to achieve? Just creating content for the sake of content without thinking that this content will drive this many leads or this many people, that's not the way to approach this. And so Binu is going to walk you through, some of the key things you need to think about your success plan. Next. And as we see, this is a big one that I think a lot of people don't really, think about is people are in the discovery mode. I want X. Can something do Y? Is there a Thai restaurant near me? Many cases it's not a branded query, it's not a specific product, but it's a discovery query. And so are we putting out the right content to make sure that we're connecting with those people during a discovery mode? And this is a lot of things Google's doing. If you look at what they're doing in the search results now, extending queries, in above the query, putting in links where you can click it. Do a query for, a TV, a 65-inch TV, and they break it down by models and price and features. All of these things are trying to steer people in a direction of connecting them with products. And so we got to really focus on this. And what we're going to do in the rest of the presentation is tell you how you can capture more of this opportunity across those 5 areas of new information. Next.
Thank you, Bill. And first of all, welcome everyone. I see a lot of folks joined in from all over the globe. So thank you, and thank you for attending, coming. Really appreciate it. Love to get all your feedback. But as Bill was actually talking about, it just occurred to me, Google launched Infinite Scroll yesterday or day before yesterday, where they said, hey, you can infinitely scroll on a desktop. But whole idea is that Google wants to make sure that they give most relevant results to customer across all types of format. So, this year, when Google had launched multi-search during Google I/O, it was super exciting. And for me, who've been doing this for years, for more than 2 decades, it was just exciting to see that finally content is just not text content. Content is a combination of images and videos and PDFs and everything Bill just talked about. And whole idea is to think about search outside the box, think about search outside the content or text, think about search as us giving most relevant result to our consumer, irrespective of format of content it is. Video is also a format of asset, PDFs, infographic, FAQs, and images. All of those are part of your content strategy today, because the whole reason why Google has launched multi-search is to make your search results much more relevant and contextual. So let's look at this. I got this directly from Google product releases, where you can type any destination and you can find out more about that destination. You can find out AMP stories, which actually sits top of the funnel. You have FAQs, you have maps, you have images, things to do, and so on. So really, infinite scroll right on a mobile. Now, how do we make sure as a business we are taking share of that infinite scroll? How do we make sure, if you are a travel destination, or if you are a lodging, or if you anything to do with tourists, your information is surfaced right on that infinite scroll. Here is another really good example when Google launched Google Lens, I think sometime last year, and this year it's really picked up, where you can truly just take a picture, right? I took a picture of these cookies, trying to bake something for my daughter, and I could just easily find out exactly how many calories, how to bake the cookie. And I don't have to go to retailer's website to find out all this information. All this information is available on my fingertip. When it's coming through entities, it's coming through Google Vision API. And that's why multi-search has opened huge opportunity for marketeers, this year. And of course, it's becoming mainstream next year. So let's think about shopping, right? Google, shopping is all-time high, and it's now shopping for any product is as simple as just looking at your camera, taking your camera, taking a picture, and then searching for that image, right? So shopping has become so much easier because of Google's ability, or search engine's ability, to understand what is the intent of a consumer, what are they looking for. Now think about it, this is a very complex task where you are trying to understand the image, you're trying to understand the quality, intent, and providing most relevant information. As a business, how do you make life of, how do you make sure your search results have the most informative, qualitative information which you can provide about your product? And that's where one of the biggest things we would say is future-proof your digital presence. Your digital presence is not text anymore. Your digital presence is every single piece of content, whether it's map, whether it's RFPs, PDFs, events, infographic, content, web stories, right? Your videos, your images. All of these are part of your future-proofing your digital presence. Because remember, when you're trying to own search result on Google main screen, combination of all these assets is going to give you the most accurate, valuable, discoverable, qualitative, relevant search, right? And what can business do? Here is a use case which I would like to share with you. This is something Milestone, amazing R&D team and our product team have been working on, that we have the asset library for a lot of our customers. How do we make sure this asset library has, number one, most qualitative asset, only one asset. So, this is one of the biggest problem in search industry, where one particular image is cropped multiple times. So now we added more noise in the ecosystem. So only one qualitative image for an object, making sure it has entity data, it has right auto tags available for it to be discoverable. And that's what we are trying to do with our asset library, where we are trying to give a data-driven approach for every single image. And the score is coming from relevancy, from the quality, from entity. And based on all these criteria, based on these three most important things, the quality of an asset score is defined for each asset subtype. And again, this is just one of the use cases. There are several other use cases for future-proofing your digital asset. My recommendation is absolutely visit Google Search Essential. Make sure your images, make sure your videos, make sure all different types of assets are properly discoverable, they are future-proof, they are thought through while you're creating your overall digital strategy for 2023. Now, moving on from multi-search to helpful content, another biggest algorithm change this year. In fact, yesterday night, Google, did roll this out globally. Now, exactly what is a helpful content? There are probably 10 plus algorithm launched just around helpful content, but after reading all of that, these are the 5 words I can use to describe helpful content. Relevant. Is your information relevant? Is it qualitative? Is it accessible? You can have amazing information, but if information is not discoverable and accessible, it still is not helpful. Is it authoritative? And do I have good experience with that? So let me walk you through, how do you as a business think about creating helpful content? Most important thing, understand your customer, understand their journey and their touch point, and every single device and every single channels they are coming and they are interacting with you. Now, once you have this data, dividing them based on your industry, what information customers are looking when they are thinking about that information, what are they looking when they are thinking about conversion, what are they looking when they're thinking about going from there. So these are the 4 stages of micro movement, really ensuring that you take all the questions your customers have and divide them based on these 4 different types of micro movement. And then once you divide them, that's when you can start seeing you are structuring this information, you have that available. If possible, also have an AI generated chatbot, so you are constantly interacting with your customer. So here is an example of something we did for one of our customers, where we studied all the questions their branch was getting, and based on all the questions their branch were getting, we kind of divided them based on micro movements, put in all the structured data, used AI process to make sure we are constantly curating these questions. And as we did that, of course, amazing result on search. But not only that, you can see phenomenal impact on top of the funnel information searches, great impact on clicks and everything else. So in my mind, helpful content is all about expertise and authority, is all about relevancy, is all about discoverability. Here is another example of something which as a business you can do. Google is looking for freshness, right? Query deserve freshness. This is QDF. And how do you make sure you keep your website fresh? And here is something another use case to kind of think about what are the possibilities. Pull in our latest events happening in your local area. Align it, update it with some really engaging high quality images, making sure that these images are discoverable and they're relevant. And we did that for one of our really big client, where we pulled all the images, had all the events aligned, and these are pulled on a daily basis for all their location. And of course, that improves the freshness, that improves the relevancy of your content. And it's great for user and it's amazing for search engine, because they are looking for that freshness of information when they are coming to your site. So again, helpful content is about understanding what customer wants, providing that information on your site, and making sure that information is discoverable. Here is another example of FAQ. Must have FAQs on your site, because search is pivoting from a lot of transactional search to long tail informational search. What why queries are top of the funnel. Infinite scroll is on top of the funnel. And that's why having FAQ on your site and constantly updating these FAQ based on what your customers are looking for. In fact, going into Search Console, pulling a lot of what why queries to help you with FAQ is a great strategy for being qualitative and relevant. And with that, here is a content scorecard we kind of created, and we highly recommend everyone to think about less is more in 2023. You don't need more content. You need more qualitative content. You want to make sure that content you have is discoverable. It is aligned with every single touch point and every single stage of customer journey, right? And it's available in featured snippet. If you have a content, it's not there in SERPs, then there is a problem. And you might have less click if your content is getting in featured snippet, which is okay, because end of the day, we want to be there where customer is looking for us, which is really Google homepage or other devices, right? And there is some data-driven approach for deciding what content is really good. So it's really not creating a whole lot of new content. It's about understanding what is missing, adding a data-driven approach to it, and making sure content you have is super helpful and covers every single touch point of customer. With that, I'm gonna let Bill review omnichannel. Go ahead, Bill.
Great. So with omnichannel, it's, this concept is not just mobile versus desktop versus tablet, but it's really thinking about the whole user experience and discovery across all of these methods. Next. Before we called it omnichannel, but it was really multi-channel, where we said, okay, here's my website for a mobile, here's my website on a tablet. And now we need to start thinking about this holistically, because people are doing that. They might do a search at work or wherever on their mobile phone, try to continue it on their desktop when they get home. They could be doing things anywhere, but it's also all the different touch points. And I think that's a thing we miss a lot, because I've seen with companies I've worked with is they don't think of all these pieces in a holistic manner. So like Binu mentioned early on, just the image asset library, using consistent images across. All these things, we need to think about this making a more customer-centric approach by unifying this experience for them. And just a simple thing like a consistent image across, because people will often see an image and then they'll go to a different experience and they're like, well, where was that beautiful pool, or where was this or that, because they're used to seeing they'd hope to see, am I in the right place? In the old days, we used to say you had 3.8 seconds to capture somebody when they landed on the web page. So the more you can have that familiarity with them through consistent images. And that's why using tools like an asset library, pulling the same data, consistent data, and then taking it and resizing the same images, creating that consistent omni-channel experience. Next. And so there's a variation of the user experience health scorecard with this, and this is focusing on those things that on the different device types are people having good experiences. So everything from Core Web Vitals, we all hate it, and it's interesting when we actually talk to digital publishers, and we say, you know, your site's basically useless because when I come there, it bounces for 5 minutes, inserting ads and shifting things around. I can't read anything. And they're like, but that's how we make money. And so there's that gap between that. So Google's starting to suppress people, you know, in websites that are a bad user experience, things like navigation, you know, call to actions, you know, is it a continuation of the features? Again, these are all things Google's trying to do. And do these change? This is a big question. Does it change when I change device? Does it mean that if I'm on my phone? And so having a scorecard to understand these, it sort of, you know, sort of takes the problem of humans looking at things and being sort of married to their content. It really shows you those. And discovering every asset, again, this has been one of my pet peeves over the years in search, is that this is not the cool stuff. Everybody wants to talk about AI, but very few people are making sure the content that they do have is indexed. You know, we've got duplicates, we've got alternates, we've got all these problems, and we can sum them up in poor SEO directives, because at the end of the day, if we puke it out there, you know, if we create it, Google will find it. That's our hope, and we don't really connect that. So businesses really need to think about this a little more holistically, and Google's gone out of their way in many cases to really give us granular details. Now, many old school people say, you know, it's just a scam. They're trying to get us to do this or that. But if you really read a lot of these, they make sense, and it really makes Google's job of finding your content and understanding your content easier. You go to the next one. And one of these things we really need to understand the crawling side of this, because I've always been very passionate. If I have a page and Google can't find it, then it can't index it, it can't score it, it can't do anything. And so this question that we had early on about, you know, JavaScript pieces, if Google's not able to render that, or if any engine's not able to render it or render it correctly, are we presenting it? Maybe that's not the best way. And so Milestone's created a variety of scorecards, and this is one that really looks at these 6 key points to make sure that the site health is optimal for you to get your content indexed and found. Next. And what does success look like? Well, you know, it's a lot of green. You know, when I was at IBM, we used to have the show me the green report, which was, you know, it was a red, yellow, green type metaphor. In this case, we have 100% indexability. All of our page experience profiles are showing good. And then all of my other signals that I have are all good. It's very rare that you actually see this, but this is our goal. And so when we have this kind of success, that means Google's found our content, it can understand our content, it can present our content, and the user will have a good user experience. Next. The fourth trend is really the shift to localization and personalization. And I don't mean translating into Japanese or French, but really understanding this and enhance your local content to engage with the local audience and deliver an exceptional experience. And if we look at these evolutions over time, you know, 84% increase in near me searches on a mobile device. So, you know, the person, what is this voodoo that they're expecting? I'm on a phone, I'm standing in a mall, or I'm standing somewhere and I do this near me, and Google's got to figure out where the hell you are and what is like that. And so as we start to think about this, how do we make this happen? And the last piece on this is that local 3.0, where we're really trying to enhance that experience. And if we think back at one of the data points Binu mentioned earlier, there was 900 variations of car queries. And some of them actually get down into things like, you know, is there a difference in the car buying experience in, say, Boston or New England, where it's cold and there's, you know, different driving conditions versus someplace like on the West Coast or Arizona? There's this other data that's really powerful that's not really search data we got to think about, but consumers like to buy from brands with a local presence. There's a lot of this, you know, the local Saturday that was just going on after Thanksgiving. You know, they're engaging with appointment shopping. They're discovering product on one channel and shopping another. And so brands need to really invest in tools that allow them to do this. And we see this 53% increase in brands trying to do that, to try to understand this. And this gets to the point Binu would talk about later about mining this data. Next. And then the personalization side of this, if we start to think about it, many people do an IP detection, and we're able to present content based on someone's city or country, what browser type they have, any of their historical behavior, the time of day. All these type of things really lets us think about this. And the key of this is the more accuracy and completeness we can make on this, because again, if we know somebody is somewhere, we can do it. In this case, for Sun Outdoors, what they're able to do is they're able to detect a variety of factors and then present offers to them. Many of the parks, Disney and SeaWorld and them all do this, that if you're in Southern California, they'll present like a resident pass or discounts. And so we need to think about how we leverage these from a true personalization where we're able to engage and connect with people more effectively. Next. And at the end of the day, the perfect experience is when, we've sort of ticked the box on as many of these local or location page must-haves. And in this particular case, this customer, made a lot of these changes, had a 51% of phone leads coming from location page. 13% of forum leads were coming from location pages. And that's because they looked at these 14 things and integrated them into the site. It's not the old days where we just sort of did search and replace and dynamically inserted content, or we scraped content from somewhere and, hey, Boise, Idaho has 50,000 people or whatever, and other crap like that. It's just now really, what do we need? And so everything from something as simple as where can I park? Is it pet friendly? All these type of things, the more we think about this, we can create this perfect experience, and people will engage it. People will reach out to you. People will buy from you. And so it's very critical we start to think about this perfect experience. Influencer marketing, and as I said early on, this is a combination of both influencer marketing in the traditional sense that we find influence, but also expert community building. And that's where we really think these things are going to go, is creating channel information and content that engages people and leverages people that allow us to, they themselves will sell for you. If you go to the next slide, we can see that they're using social media and influencer marketing, but again, too many times it's too broad of a context. They just throw something on social media and hope that people bite. But if we really think about how do we nurture people, how do we build a community, and there's many examples of people that have done this and trying to draw people in. The event pages that Binu mentioned. Two key things are really happening now. We got the channels are increasing. So as we mentioned earlier, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube are all growing like crazy. And at the same time, what's really interesting is we look at businesses, how they're measuring performance. What do we want to get? Engagement, of course. We want sales. We want people to interact with our content. So what do we have to present in order to do that? Clicks, conversions, etc. And I think oftentimes we go for cute and sexy. To Binu's point, we get somebody to say Coke is cold, or Coke is cool, as opposed to something that's going to get people to actually go to the store and buy it. If we go to the next slide. And one of the key things that does this is this short video with expert advice, and is really the best form of content. And we're starting to see that when people create this, and what's really nice when you engage your community is a lot of times users of your product, especially software products, will often create these on your behalf to tell about a feature and how they've used it, maybe some way other than what you thought. And so how do we advocate for this? A lot of business will say, hey, you misused our trademark or our products, pull it down. Whereas other than trying to nurture people, and then can we show people how things work? Can we show an example of, our product in a recipe or whatever it may be? And it's got to be short form, because people, we got reels and we've got all those type of things. Again, it's this discovery and connecting with people when they're just sort of scrolling through their phone. Go to the next slide. But you just can't push this out there. You know, the whole theme of this has been really about optimizing it, making it findable, making it accessible, and making it relatable to users. And so, you know, one of the things that Milestone has done for their clients is they created, you know, this site studio that basically almost forces you to adhere to these rules by limiting durations and making sure that you have uniformity in key features, compression, all those things that you need to have successful short form video. It's all baked into this application. And that's what we have to think about. Again, we have to connect with people. This has to be findable and has to be relatable and engageable. If you go to the next slide.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
I was just going to hand it back to you to talk about how you find the needle in a haystack.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, finding the needle in a haystack. That is the hardest thing. What should you prioritize? Is it our old-fashioned link building, or is it driving business insight and action from most relevant data point? And that's the hardest thing, you know. Our old ways of what we used to do still stays consistent, but what's important is combining all of that, right? Economy is slowing down. We all know that there is a very dramatic shift in our demand, in overall demand. So understanding what's happening in the market, what's happening with your competition, what's happening with various channels, which channel is going to work, right? You might end up fighting with your VP of marketing to say that why influencer marketing and authority is more important than social media. I know I've been arguing with Eric. So Eric, I just thought it was a perfect time to put it in, but really that's the whole key, because your old ways might go away and the effectiveness has to be measured. Co-optimization, yes, paid is important, organic is important, but can we put all of them together, right? Align it, align your executive, align your channels to get to most important business insight. And what is your consumer interested in? What are they looking for? Real-time A/B testing, real-time CRO testing is key. If you have a digital asset where you have tons and tons of people engaging, understanding what are they consuming, what do they like. So one of the things we created, and our team have been working on it for literally last 8 months, is on the fly competitive benchmarking report across most relevant channels. It's again getting rolled out to a lot of customers, but basically understand what is most important. Like Bill said, there is no use of creating brand new authoritative content if content is not discoverable, and content might not be discoverable not because of anything you did, is because of everything happening in an ecosystem. Maybe your web developer has some no index tag, or maybe a JavaScript, which is conflicting with another script, right? So this competitive benchmarking report gives you meaningful insight across most critical channels, which is important. And you will see more and more businesses, more savvy businesses pivoting towards business intelligence to come to most critical information, prioritizing what is most critical, but not based on gut feeling, based on real data. And with that, I'm going to get to the last one, which is AI and machine learning. AI and machine learning used to be almost like a shiny star, but this year I've literally seen so many algorithms supporting machine learning, such amazing use cases. In fact, yesterday night, my son was telling me that how GP3 LinkedIn has taken over the entire LinkedIn chat. And there are so many use cases for GP3. As I checked it out, it was amazing to see that how many people, how many businesses are using GP3 to solve their day-to-day problems. And it's as simple as just plug and play. And here are some of the complex problems we see businesses are going to be solving using AI ML, right? Visual search, because OpenAI visual search information is available, conversational search, search insight, personalized recommendation, data-driven content, and lot of predictive, lot of ability to fix your site on an edge using a lot of AI technology, right? So here is a really funny use case, which I absolutely love, where it's a Chinese tree surveillance system first time when I read about it, it almost seemed impossible that how surveillance team is getting all this data across millions and trillions of vehicle and consumer, and coming up with most predictive information, most accurate information about what's going to happen to next accident, or what's going to happen. How can they prevent something from happening based on studying all the patterns, all the data? So what I wanted to share with you, some of the work we are doing in AI ML is we have FAQs which are generated using OpenAI. We also have, this is a request all our customer had is, hey, can we, writing content is always fresh content is hard. How do we create AI generated content with, of course, moderation capability and all data, metadata. If you have a large site, creating metadata is the most manual work we can do. And again, you don't really need to do it. You can do it through AI. And that's what, again, we are rolling out to a lot of our product and a lot of our customer. Here is another use case, which is, with Google machine learning, you can do translation on a fly, right? And this is a great, you have a manual translation option, but you can use machine learning to translate as many languages as you want. And we have done that for some of our customers. It works phenomenally well and gives you, the time to value for customer is just so, so less, because you don't really need a lot of manual translation going on. With that, I am going to hand this over to Michael, a long-time friend and great coworker. Michael, take it on, and I will advance your slides.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about kind of the trends going on now, for SEOs within your organization, really dealing with leadership, dealing with, your agency, your technology company, whatever it might be. And a big trend right now I've seen is really going towards success plans that help the SEO really focus on, a couple of key areas. And this is all about getting a seat at the table, right? The pandemic, I think, has changed SEOs, where all of a sudden CEOs, CFOs, they know how to spell SEO now. And we have a chance to really get a seat at the table and help the CMO, get our message. Why do we need more money for early stage content, right? Why do we need, to have SEOs connected with our dev teams, speed to market, get things done more quickly. So I found that introducing the success plan in kind of 4 key areas is really something that's kind of changing the game, giving SEOs more courage to speak with their leadership team. And I'll walk you through some of these and how this goes. So, we know that, what's going on today in organic marketing, right? We know that brands are really, really waking up now, because organic's most likely the #1 traffic driving channel, the lowest cost per acquisition, the highest conversion rate. We deliver the most loyal customer. Well, with all of that, right, we should be having that investment and really running a success plan to show leadership what we're doing and kind of put this into English, right? Get out from under the hood and the things we like to do and speak to them in a way I think that they will understand. So let's go to the next slide. So the first area is really setting the key objective. And this is really important, right? It doesn't happen simply. We need to think about these objectives, and we've kind of broken these down into 3 key areas. And this is what I talk about in being able to explain and understand this stuff in English. So the first objective could be securing or protecting what we have today, right? That means there are things that we need to do to protect our traffic and revenue and presence on page 1. We know how this moves, and we need to be working at this, right? Through many different areas, technical SEO, schema, on-page optimization, but this takes work. But we need to set that up as an objective. Let's secure what we have today. Easy for leadership to understand. Second part to that in objectives might be growing, right? We need to grow. I'm sorry, just go back to the other slide for a second, Banu. with the goals, right? Securing is one thing, growing is next. How do we grow our leads, our traffic, our revenue? We all know, we have striking distance, page 2-3. We know we can get this over, but we need to be mindful of the business objectives, the economic business factors that our companies are looking for, and that'll help us better set our goals. But that's what grow is. And the third stage is market share of voice. So very simple objectives that we can bring to leadership. We want to secure or protect what we have today. We want to grow. And then, of course, market share. We don't want to lose market share. We want to be in a growth on market share. And we all know what that would take. So those are the objectives. Next would be going to the key drivers to achieve those objectives, right? What are the key drivers in each of these cases, right? How do I map my strategy to my core objectives? So if you take secure, we're protecting what we have today, it could be increasing page one visibility, more relevant terms, keeping track of what we're already ranking for well, and then how do we protect that, right? And we know what we need to do from, the SEO side. But again, this is about communicating it to leadership. So keep it English, let them know what we're working on, right? Next would be moving to key metrics. Next slide. I can't tell you how often we meet with SEOs and, we ask them, what are the goals? What are the metrics? Oh, I don't really have metrics. It's cleaning up the website. No, that's not a metric, cleaning up the website, right? If we want to be business partners to the CMO, the CEO, the CFO, we need to stick, have metrics and have goals that we're really trying to shoot for, whether we're doing all SEO internally, whether we're working with our agency. So set realistic targets, and we need to measure, right? Measuring what matters is kind of critical here. And when you look at growth as an example, just because I have a million, traffic that, might equal 1 million visits on page 2, it doesn't mean those all map to my business objectives. Maybe half of those keywords do, and that's what I should focus on. So look at realistic targets and set those, whether it's, a 10% increase in traffic, a 5% increase in revenue, things that you think are realistic. And then that helps you keep focused, right? As you go to the next slide, as we look at solutions, right, to, how do we align our solutions, our channels, our tactics, our technologies to our metrics, back to our key drivers. This is what will help us keep focus and not go down, some of the rabbit holes that we tend to go down, as we get a new SEO project, in from, some other team. If that doesn't align to your metrics and your goals that you're setting up with leadership, we should put that off as a project until things are aligned. And with this, sometimes we have these, we have the friction, right? We have the blockers that happen. But when you have this set up this way, and we kind of do this, all of this on one slide, everything is presentable on one slide. I was in a QBR yesterday with a customer, and the senior vice president of marketing was jumping into another meeting with his leadership team, and he saw the success plan, literally asked our CSM to give him a screenshot of it right away. He wanted to bring that in because on one slide, he was able to show everything the SEO team was working on, from content to web dev to, our SEO recommendations in a way that they could understand. So get this aligned. It helps you keep focus. And what I would do is, use these success plans weekly as you're meeting with your teams. It keeps you focused on who's doing what to who. Are we always mapping to the key metrics and our key drivers? And then when you look at your QBR, you can put the results in that key solutions area. And that's what I'll leave you with.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. Go ahead, Eric.
All right, so some of our takeaways today, just to summarize for you, we focused on user experience, creating quality relevant content and making sure that user experience is as smooth as possible. Talked about omni-channel, a consistent and unified experience that they're carrying the message and the scent of what they were looking for throughout their journey. Improving engagement, personalization and localization is key. You guys could see we were making some efforts in our personalization as we went through, and we were chatting with individuals and with the whole audience. Things you can do like that with your chat client and with your website really help keep people on the website and advance them through the stages. The AI is getting excited. I put a link up there for people to check out what Banu was talking about with the new chat client. And Michael talked about the success plan and having a good comprehensive plan, revisiting it and staying with it, and using it to inform the rest of the affected groups and parties in your company. If you'd like a digital presence audit, contact us at marketing_team@milestoneinternet.com. We will do this for you for free. And we would love to go over the results and look at what opportunities it presents to you. We have two upcoming events, one in the near term and one in the medium term. The first is we're going to be doing local search trends in 2023 in January. We've got two great speakers. You guys might know Greg Sterling and Mike Blumenthal, who are experts in local. And then we have chosen the date for Engage 2023. It's going to be July 31st and August 1st in Las Vegas. So put it on your calendar, save the date, block it out, and plan to come and join us. We're going to have a great lineup of speakers for that. All right, let's go to Q&A. Go back a couple slides, Banu, put it on the audit slide, or go back one more slide, and I will start with the questions. All right. So I think this is probably for Bill. I'm curious about how well bots can process JS-based schema. Following on the question, JavaScript creating, placing the schema. I'm not 100% sure if that's how Milestone works for this, but I heard JavaScript does the work. Many bots don't render JS by default. Advanced ones like Googlebot do, I think, but not sure about DuckDuckGo, Bing, and Yahoo. Bill, probably a good one for you.
Well, let's take the latter part. I don't do anything with DuckDuckGo or Bing. None of my former clients cared about them, so I can't comment on whether they do or don't. With Google, it's pretty clear they can if it's set up correctly. I think that's like Binu was talking about with the health audit, is, you know, looking to see, are my pages with schema, is the schema actually rendering in Google? We do, you know, you do know that it can work, it does work. And I'll let Binu talk about how Milestone approaches it, because they approach it a couple different ways. But it can work. The problem is exactly that: when Google first comes to the page, it grabs what it's able to pull out of the page, and then either instantaneously or at some point in the future, Google will actually come back, render it with the rendering engine to see the data that's in JavaScript. And the problems we've seen when people have done this is that if they bury it in the page and there's other problems with their scripts, then the harder you make it for Google to be able to render that, the less likely it's going to be there. But what's nice is that in Search Console, they're actually presenting data, how many pages and what pages they found different types of schema points on, so you can use that as your gauge for how much is getting in there. And I think one of the Webmaster events, they were saying they're trying to improve this because, again, as we mentioned earlier, you know, the entity side of this is very important to Google. So they're going to try to make sure that they can render and understand those schema entities even easier.
All right, thank you. Banu, hello, Banu. Do you have a growing concern about the displacement of going to a particular site for the data you're looking for being replaced by Google's Omni answer result? I think the question's like, are we worried about Google cannibalizing the answer by having a quick answer on the page?
Yeah, actually, I look at it slightly differently. I would really not measure people who are coming to my site. I would measure people where your content can be displayed on Google search results, because it's not cannibalization. It's being there where your customers are. So if you can own Google, you know, if nobody comes to your site, but every single thing you have on your site can be surfaced and can be accessed on Google search result, we are still winning, right? So owning that voice right on the thing is a good thing. It's not, in my mind, that's not cannibalization. Yes, your metrics will change, which means impression is your new gold. Impression share, search results is a new goal, new KPI for us to measure.
I would add call tracking could be something addition as well. You know, you now come to the SERP, you don't need to go to the site, the phone number's right there. We need to take credit for those phone calls that we help drive through our, SEO work.
Great. Can you talk about the Google Web Stories trending nowadays? Is there also a trend in 2023? Probably a good one for you, Binu.
Yes, actually, I was super, this is something we've been testing. And I just recently, there was a podcast released by Google where they explicitly came out and Google engineers said the most preferred schema is Web Story schema. And yes, it is trending. The reason it is trending because Web Stories is all about experience. You load it fast, it's top of the funnel. It's not about a business, it's about experience of that vertical, right? If it's, travel, it's about that destination. And that's why Web Stories, in my mind, is going to keep trending up and up and up. And having that really good USP about your business and creating a nice web story, putting it out there will definitely help you with very high top of the funnel traffic and conversion.
All right, thanks. Can you touch on where virtual companies fit into the whole localization, personalization picture? We have employees all over, but no office for customers to report to.
Yeah, I don't really think you need an office to report to, but really making sure that there is a local voice when you are creating your localization strategy. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you are a business which has multiple location and location, your consumer in California has a different set of questions as compared to a consumer in New York. How do you make sure you provide answers to their needs based on what that consumer is looking for? So it's really localizing your digital presence more than having a brick and mortar store. It is making sure images are relevant to that particular location. FAQs are relevant. There is ability to message with business is important. And that's what localization for global company means.
The beginning of the call focused on the discovery and the how-to phrases and building your SEO around conversations. What would be some examples to use for how-to within the gaming and entertainment industry specifically?
There are a lot of how-tos when you look at any industry, but if we are going to talk about gaming industry or any industry, I would just suggest doing the FAQ results research. Best way I like to do that is go to Search Console, figure out exactly what are people already typing in to get to my site, to get to my SERPs. You can always filter out all your queries based on why. You can also use Answer the Public, people also ask. There are several tools available. You can even just go to Google and type in your brand plus FAQs and you'll get tons of queries. Once you have why queries, then mapping them out, top of the funnel, which is informational queries, middle of the funnel and bottom of the funnel, informational, navigation, transactional, understanding your customer journey through Think with Google, understanding that what are customer really looking for across all the touch point, and arranging your FAQs will give you the highest results.
All right, I think we've got time for one more question. You talked a little bit about TikTok. Do you have any recommendations on how and what businesses should be posting on TikTok, how a corporate business can participate in that trend?
TikTok it's funny that this weekend I was with a lot of our friends, which is, again, being in Silicon Valley, you do have a lot of friends working in Google and TikTok and Meta and all of this. And really TikTok is, if one thing people are scared of, big brands are scared of, is TikTok. In my mind, the best way to leverage is getting an expert who, if it's an influencer, getting an influencer to do a short consumable video, engaging with your influencers, and just start posting short form of videos on Instagram, on TikTok, on Meta or Facebook Reels, you'll see a good amount of engagement. It does not need to be very well curated, perfectly done videos. It just needs to be informational videos, something you can engage your community with.
All right. Thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you to the audience for joining us here for 2023 Trends. If there's anything we can help you with, you can use the email address on screen there. You can reach me at eric.n@milestoneinternet.com. Thanks so much, and do come see us next month for the webinar and put it on your calendar for July and August 1st for Engage. We'll see you there live in Vegas. Thanks.
Thank you.